I know that we're not alone in the universe because I've met people from other places outside of our world.
Some people actually have something to risk. And I think for me, it just got to the point that I didn't care anymore. I just knew this was something I needed to talk about.
It just disappoints me about humanity that there are people who will ignore the fact that this happens. And more importantly, to myself, for purely personal reasons, that it has happened to me.
You know, we live in a scientific universe. If you can't see or smell or touch or feel it, it's not real.
We're taught to live in a box. We're taught to believe in a box. And anything that goes outside that box is looked upon as weird, as strange.
I would probably laugh, tease, and make fun of it, except that I've experienced it for 50 years. I love many of these beings. I don't consider them alien at all.
Experiences started, as best I can recall, when I was around 4 years old. As I have grown up, there are, I guess what I would call benchmark experiences, which I have full recollection of. I remember many times laying in my bed at night and sort of looking over to my right, which is where the rest of my room was, and seeing creatures in my room. These sort of humanoid figures made up of light, but it was like lens flare, and they moved around my room, very liquid-like, like fluid. And I remember, like, laying there in bed, totally paralyzed, like literally, like not just scared, but literally paralyzed, and only being able to really move my eyes and watching them. And I was so scared, and I was trying to scream, trying to call for my parents. Coming down from the room was a shaft. On the end of the shaft was this chair, and sitting in the chair was this little girl. She wasn't an alien, and she wasn't a human. I believe she was a hybrid. And she made eye contact with me, and that exact moment, all of my fear left me. I was completely calmed. I just, oh, wow. And I remember thinking, who are you? Like, what is this? And she did this, she didn't say anything, she just did this gesture, which was really interesting. She put her hand to her head, and then held it out to me. And I looked out, and there were just stars. Just tons of stars. It was so beautiful. As if I was in deep space. It was like snow. All I could see were stars. And I saw a little, like a galaxy. I just felt so connected to her. I always think of her, like if I'm laying in bed and I'm thinking about the aliens, which is often, I think if I were to roll over and there were like 3 aliens standing there, that might take me aback, and I might think, oh, okay, what are you going to do? But if she was standing there, it would just be like, hold on, let me get my stuff. You know, I would just be like, ready to go.
My experience with extraterrestrials has not been the Hollywood stereotype. It has its moments when it's this sudden, surprising experience that makes you wonder what happened. And sometimes there's a scary component there, but when you get a handle on it, it's not that frightening at all. It was the strangest experience I recall having as a child because it was in the daytime. I was walking home from kindergarten with a classmate, and We were surrounded by what I thought were little people. They looked like little girls, but the strange thing is they all looked alike. They took me to this place, and I met these grays. There were a variety of grays, different colors, anywhere from brown to gray to this funny kind of yellowish color. Thin, very pasty looking, and they were just there for me to meet them. They weren't threatening in any way. They were very friendly, in fact. It felt like a party, which was very strange. And the last thing I remember was coming through the doorway and waving goodbye to my newfound friends, and I started heading home. And then I saw my mom running out of the house, and she was really upset. And I was ready to tell her what happened. And she was so upset, she spanked me. And she had told me I'd been gone for 4 hours. And I didn't realize I'd been gone that long. I remember lying in bed and swearing to myself that I would never forget this incident.
Since it happened to me so early in life, I didn't know that it was unusual. You know, you think that everybody has these types of things happen. A being comes in and visits me at 2 years old, at 4 years old. You think this is what happens. This is normal. This is natural. This is life. There was a time when I was 7 years old where I was taken by them, and the sort of silvery gray entity said to look into his eyes. As I looked into his eyes, they flared up a bright cerulean blue, just a bright sky blue. And I just got absolutely lost into these gorgeous blue eyes, just completely sucked into them. And it was just this tranquil, warm feeling just washing over me, and it was just wonderful. They had a much different rapport with me back then. It seemed that they wanted to communicate with me as a child communicates with another child. There wasn't a feeling that they were over me in any way. They wanted to invite me to do things. They wanted to be my friend. They portrayed themselves as my friends.
Someone can come into your room at night with all the locks on it, walk in through the door, exit through the window. That's incredible. It's quiet. They came right in, not through a ship, but just came right in through the window. There were 3 beings here with really oversized heads. Did not see their features, but I saw it very vividly. I probably had other encounters as a kid that were either blocked out by screen memories or just plain fear.
My first experience with non-terrestrials happened in 1951 when I was 7 years old. I was awakened in the middle of the night and by someone calling my name. And at that time I felt compelled to go downstairs because I knew that they were around my house. I went right to the front door, opened it wide, and there, to my amazement, was a very tall being. He was accompanied by 5 or 6 very small beings. He spoke to me telepathically and said to me, "Please don't be frightened of us. We have not come to harm you."